Welcome to the Tangent Podcast, talking about Diddy. We're going to get into the law. We're going to get into some of the videos that are all over the internet and talk about how it all plays. And really, the question today is, how does this end? How does this end for Diddy? This is the Tangent Podcast.
Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast.
All right, folks, here we go. It's Friday. That means it's time for the Tangent Podcast. Great to have you all aboard. I'm Vinny Politan, along with...
Greetings and salutations, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful day, and I hope to our friends and followers in Florida that everyone is safe down there, and as the storm moves up, we have you all in our prayers that everything is going to be okay. So,
Absolutely. And of course, he's Al Wunsch the third, legal expert. Also with us is the radio legend Jonesy, but we're having some technical difficulties. It looks like he may be frozen. What do you think, Al?
he's got that frozen, like that kind of look to him that it's got that cadaver smile that I always like to see on people that are frozen on the on these things. And he's got the Burl Ives look today, which is really kind of nice.
He does. Obviously, we will attempt to get Jonesy going here with us, but we're having a few technical difficulties, and so as soon as we can get through to Jonesy, we will get him. But this is what should we call this particular Jonesy? Cardboard Jonesy?
Well, yeah, I think that Cardboard Jonesy is definitely the best phrase for that, and it does fit. Either that, or we just start playing silver and gold, which is the song in, what was that, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Exactly.
The snowman, who is Burl Ives, sings.
But I promise you, as soon as Jonesy becomes available, we will get him on. But at least you can enjoy a picture of Jonesy as we're here.
And go ahead. Let me just say this. I know that one thing that Jonesy would have been very excited about with regards to this day in history.
What? What did you say?
I said this day in history.
To civil rights and all the revolution fights, World War I and World War II, I'll always knows who is who. It's this day in history, this day in history. Now let's listen to his story.
All right, let's get to your story today, Al.
Well, I will say this, that the thing that I knew that Jonesy would be excited about is that today is William Conrad's birthday. Cannon's birthday.
Wow.
Okay. And we had done a tangent show about the great TV detectives. Okay. And you guys can look that up. It was a lot of fun. And I know that he was very, very much a big fan of Cannon and William Conrad. And today is his birthday. And Vinny, for you,
Wait, but I'm a Canon fan too because he had the first mobile phone ever. He had that phone in his car,
And it was a payphone.
I said, I want that phone.
It was. It was that. It's true. He had the first phone in there, and Albert seems nicer on your podcast.
He must be mean on TV. Al's mean on TV. Thank you, Jackie Porter.
And I bring this up to you on another birthday that I know you'll appreciate. It's Meatloaf's birthday.
No.
Yes. Meatloaf's birthday.
How old would he have been? Because he's passed, hasn't he?
Yeah, he passed away like two or 3 years ago. He probably would be in his like late
70s?
Probably like mid 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, it's his
birthday. 74. But
on the true crime aspect of today is the date that the Warren Commission released its findings on the JFK assassination. The report that came out that did the in-depth study as to whether or not.
What was their conclusion?
Their conclusion was that Lee Harvey Oswald was the solo participant in the assassination of JFK. He's the one who shot him, and it was a lone gunman.
Wow. And everyone said, yeah, okay.
That's true. That's true. But so that is our true crime aspect for today.
What year did they release that? How long did it take?
9/27, 1964.
64. So it took them, 2 years to do it?
No, it took a year. It took a little over a year. Okay. Actually, a little less than a year, because the shooting was in November of 63. And so it's less than a year, 10 months.
All right. We got a lot of folks watching on Facebook today and commenting. Fantastic. We have our usual YouTube crowd. We're also streaming live on X and on Twitch. Al, big historical note yesterday. I did a live stream. I think it was yesterday. It all blurs together. Could have been the day before. I had my first comment from someone watching on Twitch.
Oh, really?
It was an amazing moment. An amazing moment.
Well, that's
we average, anywhere between 0.3 and 6 viewers on Twitch, because it's all kids. There's a lot of kids on Twitch with the gamers. Alicia, hi, you boys, mods, and all. Hope everyone is well with the hurricane and the rain, of course. Yeah. Where I am, I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do this today because the way my colleagues in news are. Oh, it's the end of the world, and they're telling us that there was going to be a hurricane in Atlanta, and I was like, do they know that Atlanta's like a 5.5-hour drive in every direction to water? I don't think we're getting a hurricane. We might get the remnants of the storm. It might feel a little tropical out there. We got a little wind. We got a lot of rain because of a rainstorm before that. But, if you live near water, there's flooding here. But my son was in Tampa, and his place is right on the water in Tampa. And there's a lot of flooding down there.
One more historical thing that did not happen on today, but happened like 2 days ago, which I'm happy to see. Anna Delvey got kicked off of Dancing with the Stars.
And she's the fraudster, right?
She's the fraudster that had to have a device on her ankle while she was dancing. Okay. And I don't understand how they allowed her. Okay. She's actually being detained because they're trying to deport her, and she's in the process of trying not to be deported. But they had a special condition that allowed her to participate in Dancing with the Stars. And
I like have a show. I can't get on Dancing with the Stars, and she's a criminal and she gets on. That's something wrong with that.
I really do just say boo-hoo to them for doing that. I mean, there's no reason why she should be on that show. None whatsoever. You would be good on that show, actually. You're really.
I think I could compete. Nancy Grace was on the show years ago.
Yes.
By the way, Rhino Girl, thank you so much, Rhino Girl, watching today. All right, so let's get into Diddy. I think the first thing I'll do, if I can, I've got to wait 1 second. I got to get it. I'm going to put up the. I've got the indictment. Let me find the because really the first paragraph of the indictment gives you the flavor for the whole thing. So let me put that up. I got to find
The
it.
question of the day is Diddy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, all right, Rhino Girl, thank you so much. I'm going to not say some of the words out loud. You can read along, folks. And the first part of this is, I think, interesting. It says for decades. For decades. So let's just stop right there and talk about, stop right there. Boom, boom, for me.
Dun, dun, dun. I want to know right now.
To me, the significance of for decades is how you take old conduct and then strap it into the allegations here. Because if we're talking about RICO and racketeering,
You need that.
that is one way that you get around statute of limitations on particular conduct and charges, is that you say it's what? A continuing course of conduct.
Exactly.
So those first two words, folks, are extremely important and powerful in federal court. Okay, for decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. What's your favorite Diddy name?
I just like Sean Combs, to be honest with you. I just think that, that name, I think, is the best out of all. I've never understood any of those other phrases, but
Mm.
and
Well-
I was at the forefront of the hip hop and rap explosion in the late 70s.
What do you mean you're at the forefront? What does that mean?
Well, because I was there at the parties when the Sugar Hill Gang started doing that. Okay, and they got some recognition, and local radio stations were playing. We'd be at parties, Dwight Morrow parties, because friends of mine went to St. Cecilia's, and we would go there, and they'd be in the basement of the houses that we were at parties at, and they would be doing that to records. They would be rapping over records that were going on, and this was in like 1975, 76, and it was just incredible to see this going on, and then all of a sudden it exploded. So I was there.
You were there with Big Bank Hank?
Yeah, Big Bang, and Master G. Okay.
Cowboy?
Mark Green. Well, Cowboy is later. That's not that wasn't the original Sugar Hill Gang. Okay. So like when that song, what's it? Get on it, jump on it, whatever. Was it Geronimo or whatever? That's
when it wasn't the Sugar Hill Gang, right? Or it was Grandmaster Flash, or it was the
Well, they released a version of it, but that wasn't the original group.
Gotcha. By the way, we've got Marzi Girl watching from Exit 6, New Jersey Turnpike. Al, what is Exit 6 on the Turnpike?
Exit 6.
That put you in like
that's
Monroe?
like going to that's like getting down. Like I'd get off that to get to Philadelphia.
Is it that far down?
Yeah, it's that far down.
I have to look it up. I'm sorry, because I'm pretty good with the Parkway. Turnpike I'm not as good with.
Yeah, exit 7 is
it connects to the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Marzi Girl, probably a Philly fan. By the way. All right. So let's continue. I go with Puffy.
Okay.
Sean Puffy Combs. That's my favorite. The defendant, now this is, I'm not going to be able to say every word, but the defendant abused, threatened, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires. So they're laying out the motive here in the first line on why. And the reason the motive is important in a RICO is because they're establishing the purpose of his enterprise. So they're saying that the purpose of his enterprise is to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. So he's engaging in all this wrongful conduct for decades. So things that he did decades ago can be brought today and will not be barred by the statute of limitations. And then he's coercing others. And then it gets to his motive, which becomes like they did in the R. Kelly case, is to say that he's establishing this enterprise, which is him and the people that work for him, I guess, for this purpose itself, which I thought was interesting in R. Kelly. Here, it seems like it's a little more sophisticated than it was with R. Kelly. Your thoughts?
It was definitely they they really took their time on this one, and you can tell that they had a lot of conversations with individuals that gave them the opportunity to string this together. You can't get any more vague than 4 decades, but I mean, they've gone through this so well, and this is, I mean, it's a work of art, and that's what that is when you're dealing with Rico. It's a work of art because it's how they phrase it that opens the door to Rico. So I think that they did a lot better than R. Kelly, but we saw what happened with R. Kelly, and so
now to do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled. So they're acknowledging that he had a legitimate business empire, but they're saying that he relied on this business empire to create a criminal enterprise. And again, we get to the magical word, the criminal enterprise. And if you go back to the history of Rico, like Rico was originally designed as a way to get like the Godfather, the Don of organized crime, who's at the top, and have the Don responsible for all the things that the capos and the underlings were engaging in, because the Don would always create, those layers of protection, right? That I didn't directly actually do anything. So it was hard to prosecute them.
Because what ended up happening with that was that in the early 60s, when the mobster Valachi, I mean, the famous Valachi papers, when he testified, he was testifying about stuff that was like so old, okay, that there was no way you were going to be able to bring that in. And then they took that idea and crafted it in such a way where they came up with RICO, which was a ingenious way of going after crime syndicates, and that's what they're assuming that Puff Daddy is with regards to this, is a crime syndicate.
Nice use of Puff Daddy. Gringa sending her heart out to everyone dealing with the flooding. Yes, it's the flooding, really. And it's a combination, though, because I think you have a lot of downed trees causing the power shortages, which comes from the water softening the ground, and then everything just goes down. It's a domino effect. And the winds, they said, were really bad. The area that it hit in Florida, because I'm sort of familiar with the Panhandle, I spent a lot of time down there. Like where my son is, kind of in the Tampa area, very populated. Then where we are on the other side near Panama City and Destin is very populated. But between those two areas, kind of where the state bends, it's beautiful, but it's not really as developed. So some of the towns that were getting hit, there were a few thousand in some of the towns that were going to get hit first, and most. And I can't imagine the damage that they sustained. But you're not going to have the numbers that you might normally have if it struck an area that was as populated. But the people there, they've gotten hit 2 years in a row now. It's horrific. It's horrific for them. Adam drives Helen. Diddy did it, and he done. Thanks for a great start to Friday, fellas, and poor Jonesy. Where do you think I think the court of public opinion now is almost unanimous against Diddy right now? Have you seen people saying stand up for Diddy?
Well, I will tell you this. I have not seen anyone stand up for him. I haven't seen any of his friends. I haven't seen any of the people that he called his friends. I haven't seen any of his associates. I haven't seen anyone in that industry stand up and say, well, why don't we just let this thing, look how it goes. You're innocent until proven guilty and all that other kind of stuff. Everyone's running for cover. And, and it's funny because you're seeing a lot of people in the hip hop industry and everything saying like, well, there'll be no videos of me, or I never went to those parties, or I was never there, or when things got a little crazy, I just left. And then you hear from, his, former bodyguards and employees that he had cameras all over the place, and that everything was recorded, and that he wanted to make sure he had stuff on anyone and everyone. And you hear about J-Lo and the fact that, tapes were given to her former husband. And
those are the rumors now.
that's the rumors. Then that's the rumors
Wow.
that led to the divorce, where that tapes were slipped to him, and that he just was so offended and so upset about it that he, didn't want to stay married to her anymore. So,
I mean, I'm looking at it this way. To me, it's insanity. It's insanity if this level of behavior was ongoing, that's been alleged, and this is bad stuff that's being alleged, but it's ongoing, and everyone kind of knew about it, but nobody said anything. And I think, I guess part of the theory is that he was able to retain this sort of hands off, no one really talking about him, because he potentially had videos of them.
right. Not only that, he also, had them in his employment and paid well,
Right.
and things along those lines. And you don't kill the golden goose, and so that's part of it.
If all so let's get into legally what happens here. So there were two raids, right? There's a raid of his home.
Right.
If they seized videos, what is the responsibility now of the government with those videos? Like, they need to look at every video, and do they need to track down any victim that they might see?
Yes.
Well, what would be, here's the big question I have, and there's no evidence of any celebrity engaging in the conduct, right? But what if there's a celebrity, right, who happens to be at one of these parties and stays late, and then all this illegal conduct is taking place, okay, on the victim, right? This non-consensual type of activity is taking place that's been alleged to be crimes. He may say it's not a crime, it was consensual, but let's say, for argument's sake, let's say it's illegal activity, non-consensual activity that is taking place, and there's a celebrity there who is there and is watching it, and they're caught on video watching it.
Okay.
Is that what does the United States U.S. Attorney's Office do with that? Like, what do you do with that?
It's subpoenaed. Subpoenaed as a witness.
As a witness against?
Yeah, witness against. See, I mean,
You're not a defendant. Do they have any liability if they are just there?
Spectators, if they're spectators, I don't think there's a liability. I think that they would be finished if they were in the industry. They would be finished if that ever got out. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, once again, that's the Seinfeld episode. The last episode, which is the thing where you can't be a bystander. If you see a crime, you have to interject yourself and have to do something to help the victim in that case. And that obviously is a TV show. I don't know that there is ever a situation where you have to jump in to if you felt that you were endangered or something along those lines. But there is a moral obligation that one would have under those circumstances. And what you mentioned before, which I think is important, is about if they have these tapes, do they have to ascertain the identity? And the answer is yes, because there is allegations of SA of minors. And you need to be able to prove that they were minors at that time. A lot of times in cases with regards to pedophiles and they're, they have these films and things like that come from like Thailand and all these other places. The people look young, but if the authorities cannot establish an age,
Right.
they can't prosecute it as a pedophile, a pedophile.
Prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, because that's
Because you have to be able to prove that that this isn't a kid that is just dressed to look
Right.
young, or like the barely legal or something like that. But they will have to ascertain the victims in this.
Okay,
And-
Rhino Girl is also known as Demon.
Ooh.
Or no, she's talking probably about Diddy, not
Oh,
herself.
okay. Okay. I was going to say that
Yeah.
is
She's
very
funny.
intriguing, especially as we approach October.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let me continue with the reading here. Creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, ST, forced labor, kidnap, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So that's sort of, among other crimes, gives them, a little more flexibility, saying we're not limiting what we're alleging here. But you look at the nature of all of this; it's extremely serious, and the difference in a RICO case is you take all this conduct. It's something over here. It's something over there. This thing happened, 15 years ago. This thing happened 18 years ago. This thing happened last year. It's all put together. It's all wrapped up in one big package. So the two parts of it are, it becomes very serious, but the jury gets to hear all of it. And you know how a lot of times someone's facing charges, they try to get their charges separated because it would be prejudicial if you heard that the same person charged with doing something in 2023 did something in 2006. But in RICO, they hear it all at once, which is why it's virtually impossible to overcome because of the volume of alleged conduct that will be coming forward in this case.
But the one thing out of this that I'm still trying to figure out is, where does arson come into play?
I think there's a story that someone's car was blown up.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember why, if it was for retribution or something. Something happened, and it was sort of like a threat kind of thing. And the allegation is that it had someone's car blown up, I believe.
The other thing that's Mr. Combs is going to be dealing with is the fact that once they start with this, then they start looking at everything. And you have a scenario now where they're now looking back into Tupac Shakur's assassination and everything that went on with that, because there had been rumors that he had spoke to some people about taking him out. I mean, you got to remember, at this time, back when Tupac and back when with Biggie Smalls were, at the apex of the hip hop industry, the East Coast rap and West Coast rap, it was a civil war. I mean, there was just violence going on between those two groups. And if anything, Suge Knight had been instrumental in basically saying, look, we're going to take you guys down. You're going to be eradicated. We don't need you.
Suge is doing interviews. He did an interview with Chris Cuomo from prison the other night on all of this. Unbelievable. The other thing is, you talk about the East Coast, West Coast. I came across, because now I've been doing all this research. Now I'm in the Diddy algorithm, and a lot of hip hop stuff popping up. There was a video of Snoop, right? Snoop is beloved by everyone, right?
Right.
Well, this is from back in the day while the war's going on, the Civil War you referred to. And I think he's performing like in front of an East Coast crowd, and they're just so not into him. They're totally, like, if Snoop stepped on any stage anywhere now, people would go bonkers, right? Absolutely bonkers, like Mount Rushmore type stuff. But back in the midst of all of this, when he was, he was in front of an East Coast rap crowd or whatever, and they were not having any of it. It was fascinating to watch.
Well, if you take a look at, I think it was either the Grammys or it was maybe the MTV Awards, the West Coast contingent of the rappers got up there and did nothing but attack all of the East Coast people, and that were sitting in the audience and watching. And particularly, you take a look at what Snoop was saying, and also Ice-T, who, incidentally is from the East Coast, but his career, blossomed in the West Coast.
Before he became a cop.
And he became, part of that whole group with them. And, they were making some real dangerous threats. And it was a very, very interesting fight going.
The conflict made everyone bigger. and sort of set the table for where we are today. That it's perhaps the biggest driving force of pop culture at this point. It absolutely is, you know. So I think that sort of set the table for it. Lisa Whitenauer, Vinny, thank you so much for the meet and greet yesterday. It was awesome. Yesterday, there was a meet and greet on Court TV's YouTube page for a certain membership level. And yeah, we had a fun time, like an hour and 20. Like it was off the chains. Great to see you there, Lisa. Also, Al, just want to say you're my favorite next to Vinny.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I will try harder to become your favorite. So keep that in mind.
Always working hard. Always working hard.
Yes. All
right.
So, Vin, you ever get invited to any of P. Diddy's parties?
No, never. Not even close. Not even close. TKS wants to know, says the baby oil is not baby oil.
You know, I'm hearing that it's with like a cannabis oil or something along those lines.
Oh.
That is also slippery, and that's what I've been hearing along those lines. You know what I find like somewhat it's kind of sleazy on the part of the attorney general to like start putting salacious things out there, like we found 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricants. I mean, what does that matter?
That's part of the criminal enterprise.
Yeah, you don't need to announce that when you're announcing the crimes. Announce the crime. You need to put sidelights in. I mean, it's look. And then the funny part is that the attorney buys into it. The defense counsel goes, well, there's a lot of Costco's by the houses that that Puff lives in.
Yeah, but if you're talking about non-consensual conduct, that's why that is an important mechanism or part of what they're going to allege in terms of the conduct. So you can't
say we found lubricants and baby oil. We have to say 1,000 bottles.
Well, it shows you how over the top all this is.
But I mean, the funny thing is that Costco sent out a press release saying that they have no record of P. Diddy buying that, and they don't sell baby oil at any Costco's.
Oh, okay.
So,
Amy Crew, Rico Suave.
Ooh, yes.
I love that song. That was an amazing song back in the day. So let's do this. Oh yeah, this is a good one from a Big Girl for Life. The Giuliani was really the one who first kind of really used Rico, and it was how they took down the MAB.
Yep. Yeah, he did. It's unfortunate what happened to him afterwards, but he did. He came in and he was very energetic with regards to using that, and did a great job at the time.
Now, Blue. Hey, boys, I missed you guys. How does this end? How it should, with prison time. How much time do you think he should get? Have a good weekend, Vinny. So
he's looking at life.
Let's address this. Let's jump to the end a little bit here, and then I've got a whole different avenue I want to go down. But from my perspective, historically, the U.S. Attorney's Office doesn't bring cases that they aren't 10,000% confident in, especially if it's super high profile. If it's super high profile, they do not want to lose. They don't bring it until they have it. And I think the fact that it's Rico and it's this magnitude, I think it does end the same way R. Kelly. And I don't think P. Diddy will ever be a free man again. The question is, does it end for Diddy before you even get to the trial? And I think that's the other thing people are wondering about.
Yeah, well, I don't
think they will protect this inmate much better than some others.
You know what? It's going to depend. I mean, he ran in a very, very, very big circuit. Okay, with a lot of big name people. LeBron. Okay, you've got even Ellen. I mean, you've got comedians and musicians and politicians, including Mr. Trump, There was a bunch of pictures with him and Melania,
Trump, Obama. He's
Obama too.
also, yep, absolutely. He's also with the prince over in the former prince. I don't know what he is now. Harry.
Now, what's interesting, Vinny, is you didn't ask me if I've ever been to
I
one of.
wasn't taking the bait. But I
You
will.
didn't ask.
Have you
And I'm
been?
quoting it because I see that some people are commenting on that.
Have you been to a Diddy freak off?
Kinda.
This is now. Remember, people watch this, and what. I just want to advise you of your rights. Al wants you have the right to remain silent. What you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion.
Okay. All right. So here's the situation. I think it was 2010. It was July 4th weekend.
Wait. Picture this: 2010, Sicily.
2010, July 4th weekend, Atlantic City, New Jersey. All right. I'm down covering the Lady Gaga concert at the Atlantic City Convention Center. All right. So I'm down there covering that for WOR Radio.
And that's what he's doing, poker face, right?
That was that. And
poker face.
Yes, it was a tremendous concert, by the way. The opening band was Semi Precious Stones, which was excellent also. But so they said to me that P. Diddy, at the time, I think it was Puff Daddy, is having a red, white, and blue party at Harrah's Marina, at the pool at Harrah's Marina. Would you go cover that? So I'm down there, might as well, a couple of shekels extra for heading over to that. The party, I think, was that night on the 4th. It started at midnight, and I go, I'm there. I had a press credential. I get to go in, and then they canceled it because there was a riot. There was a riot, and there was nothing went on. So they ended up canceling that. They ended up canceling the concert for him the next day, and even more amazing, they closed all the bars in Harrah's so that everyone would leave the place.
Wow.
And so when I say kinda, I wasn't invited to a white party, but I was invited to the red, white, and blue party, which never happened. So kinda. All right. So I don't think I'm in any trouble. I don't think there's a video of me.
No.
And, so I bring that up.
But my understanding is it's the after party that's the problem, right? So, I tried to get an answer, and I think the answer I got on my show the other night. I had some guys who've been covering him for years. One of the guys from Dish Nation, and there's the party, right, that everyone goes to. Then there's the after party that not everyone goes to. So I think it's the freak offs and the after parties, separate event. It's not like you go to a Diddy party and it's like what he's been accused of in this indictment. However, I've also seen online, and I didn't clip it for today, the Kardashians, early Kardashian episode. One of the Kardashians went to a Diddy party.
Yeah, I think it was Chloe.
And said, yeah, you would have loved it. Half the people there were naked.
Yep, that's right. She did.
So either she was there after hours, or maybe these Diddy parties are like that's nuts. That's crazy. Like a bunch of adults, like you're allowed to, consenting adults, guys can do whatever you want. But when you're an A-list celebrity and you all are running around naked.
Yeah, but then you remember the parties at the Playboy Mansion.
No, okay? I don't. Why do I remember the party?
Well, we were there that one time. It was you and me, and Jonesy came late. But no, I mean, it was the same thing.
You remember the Playboy party? No, I don't.
I'm not saying you remember them as in you were there, but you remember that they would talk about those, that everyone wanted to go into the Playboy parties because there were naked women walking around. They were naked in the pool. There was all this stuff going on. They were serving stuff that would make get you aroused quicker. I mean, all these things were going on at Hef's. okay, place. And so, I mean, that happens.
So
That
maybe it's like the modern day hef mode. Okay, okay. By the way, Deborah Cromlish, Vinny Politan, do you pay attention to your Facebook feed? Yeah, of course I do. It's just when we live stream, the numbers, YouTube wins. Like there's just many more people on YouTube watching than on Facebook. And it has nothing to do with the followers, because I have close to 1 million followers on Facebook, yet Facebook doesn't put me in any sort of algorithm where people know that I'm even live streaming. Whereas YouTube with 75,000, I get 5 times as many people watching over there. So 5, not even 5, like 20 times more people watching over there. It's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, I do absolutely pay attention. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pay attention to Adele Headley. Diddy, I hope, will be on court TV. No, it's federal court. And there's no cameras inside a federal courtroom. So there you have it.
Not going to happen.
What do I have here? I had something else.
Well, just on the comment about the Facebook, it's also much more difficult to comment, or to answer on Facebook than it is on YouTube. And you people know that I do answer on YouTube. I do take a look, and I do make responses, and so I'm very much on top of that. But I have a hard time being able to do the same thing on Facebook. So if you want to comment, please go to YouTube, and I would be more than happy to answer anything that you say.
Okay, Insomniac, do you all think more arrests are coming? He's going away for the rest of his life. It seems like others would have been named in the indictment. How unusual is it in an RICO case to name only one defendant?
It's not as unusual as you might want to think, okay? Because obviously they've got information from individuals who have probably already been, either they're being looked at for potential criminals, crimes, or things along those lines. It's not, and the thing is also is that, he had industries, so there is definitely going to be stuff down the line. They also may be hoping that they can get him to talk and throw out some names that are going to be able to help them bring down other people, and that's going to help him take years off of his sentence.
But he's he's the head honcho.
It doesn't matter. There's going to be in any type of situation like this, there are facilitators. There are people that bring people to these parties. There are people that get these people to come. There are people that set the parties up, set the cameras up. They're the parties that will make phone calls and say, if you say anything, we have this video and we're going to send it to your father, who's a reverend at some church, or we're going to put this on your YouTube page, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So there are people that flow down, and even when you get the capos and things along those lines, they take the guys that are below them just as quickly as they want to get the guys above them. So I don't see that.
You mentioned the facilitators, and it reminds me that in the younger days, I always sort of enjoyed the work of the party facilitators. Like if you're at a bar mitzvah or something, the young men and women who would usually dressed in black, who would go out and get Uncle Saul or Aunt Betsy onto the dance floor, right, and sort of facilitate the energy in the room. Not the DJ, right? The DJ, I'm a DJ, so I know the DJ does some of that, does a lot of that. But if you have the help of your party facilitators, then your next level stuff. Ashley Bouchard, also at the meet and greet yesterday. Great to see you at the Q&A yesterday. Typically, in your experience as a lawyer and an analyst, are sexual crimes typically about power? Do you think that's the case here? I think there's some freaky behavior also. I think he uses his power, but I'm kind of in on what they said, and I'll add it back up here, that he does have some freaky desires that are motivating this behavior. And I think he's using the power to facilitate that. What are your thoughts? Do you think that the power is what's driving him to be able to control people, or is he controlling people to fulfill the desires, the the off-brand horrendous desires that he has.
Well,
Allegedly.
that the interesting aspect of that is you take a look at like the Roman emperors, the Caligulas, and the people throughout history that you see that what they wanted was to have the ability to have these people do these things in front of them and order them to do it, and they would do it because there is a certain amount of excitement you get with when you're the one who can tell people what to do and they do it. So I do think that there certainly is a power aspect of it, and I do see that in a lot of sexual crimes, there is that issue of having domination over somebody that can be very fulfilling for a sick mind, and that's what's going on here. So I think he's sitting there like he's a Roman emperor, and he's ordering his plebeians to do these things because he can.
Because he can. That's interesting. Jonesy looks a little blue. Let me. I can take care of him. I'll be back 1 second now. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right. So a power trip is always something with regards to any type of sexual crime. But in this instance, like I said to you before, I think he's doing it because he can do it, and people will follow him for whatever reason. Okay. They want to be part of that crowd. They want to have his ability to move their career forward. He was a very good producer. Notwithstanding he's a scumbag of a human being, but I mean his works with regards to his record label and things along those lines. He had some great acts, and he's also got some great songs. More Money, more Trouble,
More Problems, I think.
More Problems, right. More Money, More Problems. The song he did for Godzilla, where he had played over one of the Led Zeppelin songs.
He did the soundtrack to Godzilla.
Yeah, well, he did I think it was the opening song.
Wow. Michelle L., glad to see some speaking out for the truth. Ice Cube has been talking for a minute. Good to know not everybody is straight evil.
Well, once again, West Coast. Okay, so the West Coast guys, you're going to be seeing them coming up, just going, "We told you so. We've been waiting for this for years. We knew this was going to happen." And I saw Ice Cube speak and said, "Listen, none of my guys that I ran with, none of my people are going to be on any of those videos." Okay. And once again, it is the West Coast versus the East Coast. We had the same thing in the punk rock business and the punk rock industry. There was the East Coast punk rock, which was, led by the Ramones. And we were very possessive that we were the best. And then there was the West Coast punk rock with the Dead Kennedys, X.
Oh, yeah.
The bands out there and them saying that, they were the better music. When we said we started it. And that's what also happened here in the East Coast of rap and hip hop. It started on the East Coast.
Right.
But, the West Coast said, no, we did it better and things along those lines. So you're going to be watching any of those guys that come in and start, yelling out about him are all going to be West Coast guys.
Well, it's the same thing like with pasta. Like you go back and say, well, in China, they kind of, they invented it. But like, once we Italians got our hands on the pasta, like we went nuts with it. Like we did things that no one ever imagined. So it's all a matter of taste. Okay, I want to get to some videos, but Juana has an important question. Juana Michelle, question: if Trump wins the election, could he pardon Diddy? Yes. So could Kamala Harris could pardon. So could Joe Biden pardon Diddy. Any president can pardon someone under federal charges, not state charges, only federal charges.
Right.
Thank you, Juana. Appreciate it. Okay. Now, I want to take a look at some of this behavior, because the other part of this story, how it's taken over is, and we mentioned like no one's really standing up for Diddy or, and understandably, right here, I found a clip that's online right now. It's Diddy on Conan years ago. Here he is in his own words describing one of his parties.
Okay. Now, we need alcohols.
Right.
Alcohols.
Right.
Not just one alcohol.
Alcohols.
Right, just different
Plurals.
blend. You need the
Blends.
ladies, you need the booze.
You need some water.
For watering plants? What?
No, I don't know if guys have noticed this. Like, a lot of ladies drink water at parties. They just, you know, so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, I just want to stop right there. I talked about this on my show. How do you interpret those locks? Are those locks keeping people in or keeping people out of the party? Locking people in the party or keeping people out of the party?
No, I interpret it as keeping people in the party.
That's how I did, but I was on the air. Head Crack was with me, and he said, no, it's to keep people from coming in. So everything that happens in there is just limited to the people who are in there. So I don't know which one it is, but that's, I think there's two interpretations of that. I think Conan interpreted it and the audience did the same way we did. Like, there's locks. Yeah, keep everybody in.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but
yeah.
Rock with me, but just check it out. You need
All right, so
a lot of
kinky.
heat.
Okay.
So when he said that, it's a little kinky. It's the locks to keep them in.
Yeah.
Because the kinky wouldn't be the locks to keep them out. I mean, you know, the locks to keep them in is kinky. You know, it's a little kinky, yeah, because you're putting the locks on the door so the women can't run, or the whoever can't run.
It's like a Matt Lauer situation. Remember when the Matt Lauer Me Too came out? They said that he had a special lock to keep people from leaving his office.
Yes, childproof.
Childproof.
A lot of
Heat.
heat. Yeah.
Heat. You mean that physically the place has to be hot?
You don't have no air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
No.
Why is that?
Heat affects the alcohol, and it also affects, like, you know, everybody gets a little bit more comfortable and loose. Builds up a nice little sweat.
That just sounds disgusting. What are you
And then I go back to this picture talking about the heat, the sweat. This is Diddy from a Diddy party.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to last at one of the Diddy parties. I need it to be cool. I need it to be, you know, I need temperate. Okay, I don't like hot. I don't like the heat. All right, that's not my idea of a good time. The water aspect, you know, I know that would make you happy, Vinny. The alcohol aspect makes me happy, but the heat aspect of it, I'd be gone. I'd have to try to pick the lock to get out of the building so that I could get into some air conditioning.
So what do you think he's describing here? Do you think he's describing one of these alleged parties with the alleged conduct in question, or is this just a good time with some friends and celebrities?
No, this is you got to remember that the white party, okay, that he would throw like in the Hamptons and things along those lines were like one of those things that, you know, you heard about, but you didn't ever participate in, and people would talk about it all the time. And you'd always have, if he was on a talk show or something, it's like, well, how do I get invited to that? And people would want to hear what's going on at this thing. It was a huge, huge thing that he was putting together. And I don't think that, you know, this is him talking about what was going on and the freakouts and things along those lines. I think he's just dropping, you know, some hints as to what goes on at these parties and why they're so good and why he's able to be the party thrower that he is. So I don't see it as being anything more nefarious than a guy just trying to, you know, tantalize you with what he can put together with regards to a party.
Did you say freak out?
Well, yeah, the freak out.
No. The freak out was Studio 54. La freak out. Freak off is Diddy.
Well, okay. Well, freak off, freak out.
Well, there's a difference.
Well, yes, there is a difference. I've been to Studio 54, but I've never been to a freak off.
So you've been to a freak out, but not a freak off.
I've been to a freak out. That's why I brought that up. I wanted people to know that I only talk about the things I have experienced, and I have experienced.
Depends on the way you look at it.
The other problem here, he's wearing a Tom Seaver jersey.
I know.
The
first thing I noticed, which was like very distressful, because for those of you that don't know, the three of us are huge Mets fans.
Yeah,
and we all love Tom Seaver.
Jonesy, you love Seaver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver is one of my favorite players, Vinny.
Jonesy,
start getting
people.
It's kind of sexy. Is that what you're saying?
All right, now we get to the other thing that's flying all over the internet, which is Diddy and Justin Bieber.
You ever seen the movie 48 Hours?
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher. I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
Going crazy.
That's like, now is it just bad because we're looking at it in retrospect?
It was bad when I saw it when it first came out. I mean, you know, and what is even more distressful is if you listen to what Suge Knight said on the Cuomo show, okay, was that this is a coming of age that happened to Diddy, okay, and then he passes it on to the younger generations going forward. I mean, it is just horrific. If you listen to that interview that he talks about, that Diddy was probably, essayed by the guys that, you know, mentored him. And then he just passes that on. And that's the rite of passage in that industry. And of course, he's talking about the East Coast. He's not talking about the West Coast. But he's saying in the East Coast that there was this perversion that would go on where Diddy was probably suffering the same way he's made other people suffer. And that's what's going on this. And it's just horrific. And if you see this situation with Justin Bieber, I mean, you know, I mean, he 48 hours, we're going to go, he's now belongs to me. Okay. He's with me now and everything else. I mean, it's very disturbing. It was disturbing when I first saw it.
Let's watch some more Bieber. And now I tried to do it, I think, in chronological order as he gets older.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you.
Welcome to the family, John.
Welcome to the family. To me, that's consistent with what you were just saying. The rite of passage.
Yep.
Welcome to the family. This is, wow. All right. This one really will creep out a lot of people. I don't know if you've seen this one. And Diddy put this out there on his own live stream. So.
Anybody else? Yeah. Everyone, introduce yourself.
My name's Ava. I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Oh, Ava Combs.
What's your other last name?
Ava Baroni.
Ava Baroni Combs. Yes, it was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you. But you still have beautiful parents but you're my child also. But please tell the story.
So, I was on the streets, and then Papa Combs decided that he would like to be a caring man. So then he saw me and decided to pick me up and said to come inside and play with his kids.
Yeah.
Weird, right? It's just weird. I don't know. I hope that girl's okay, and she may be fine. But it's a weird moment. It's awkward, and he felt compelled to put that on his live stream.
And what parents allow that to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you what, though, we need a quick break from this.
Time to get happy. It's time to get funky. It's time for us to smile. 'Cause here comes Max Spunky.
All right, McSpunky in the house. Up, Vinny, Al, Portal Jonesy, and mods and all. Great to see you. You remember the Gong Show, right?
Of course.
Right. So as a child, I was addicted to the Gong Show. So
Who wasn't?
and all summer long. And when I would be sick from school and home during the day, watching the Gong Show, and the only thing I ever wanted every time I watched it, what do you think it was? What was I waiting for?
It was well, it
What was I waiting for?
Gene the Dancing Machine.
Absolutely. That's all that I watched that show for was Gene the Dancing Machine.
I like the unknown.
So happy. That's what McSpunky does.
I liked, of course, Gene the Dancing Machine, because it was just the way they would announce him was always hilarious. Yeah. But I also liked the unknown comic. And I like the guy that they would go, I'm going to play my saxophone. What you going to do? I'm going to play my saxophone. What you got? And everyone would be singing that. And that show was just, you know what? Why do they have no repeats of that show?
You might be able to find it on some network somewhere. But to me, even beyond, it wasn't about the unknown comic. It wasn't about anything except I sat there and would just wait for the moment that Gene the Dancing Machine would come on. And McSpunky is my Gene the Dancing Machine now. All right, let's get back to it. Here's Ashton Kutcher. I think I spelled it right. I don't know.
Diddy party stories, they're our favorite genre of anecdote, if you
really?
have one. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I've got a lot I can't tell. So, I can't tell that one either. I mean, I'm like actually cycling through them.
Well, we still have some time to go. I can blow it here.
Okay. Feel free. Diddy party stories, man. That was like some weird memory lane.
Weird memory lane. Like so,
like you and those parties would have at the Playboy.
I mean, so what are the thoughts here? Like, is he talking about the normal celebrity party where everyone's there? Yeah, it's a little crazy, it's a little wild. Some people are naked, but like it's all consenting people at a party versus this behavior, right? And I think what's happening now in the world of social media and in our conscious is that there's a conflation of this. And I don't want to accuse people of being part of something that aren't part of something, but I feel I don't want to believe, I may be naive, but I don't want to believe that Ashton Kutcher and all these other people would be at a place where this alleged illegal conduct is taking place, this non-consensual behavior is taking place versus a wild party with consenting adults who may have clothes on, who may not have clothes on, who may be, I don't know, doing things that consenting adults are permitted to do versus what you're not permitted to do, which is what's alleged in the indictment.
But there also may be some exaggeration going on. I mean, with a situation where you ask, I'm talking about with Ashton Kutcher, a situation. It's like, you've heard all these rumors about what goes on the Diddy parties. Wow, weird trip. Wow. It's, I mean, because that's what you're supposed to say. If you say, listen, I had wonderful ice cream and it was, and the cake was phenomenal. Okay.
It was a cannoli cream cake. It was amazing.
With a mocha crust. And it was wonderful. And I remember that they had, how many parties do you go to? Rice pudding.
Right.
With
Al, you missed the chocolate fountain. There was a chocolate fountain with strawberries and pound cake. I took it. I put a piece of pound cake and a strawberry together under the chocolate fountain. Amazing.
I didn't see that, Ben. I didn't. I was captivated. I was motivated. I was completely encapsulated by the rice pudding with raisins.
I can't wait till the next party. It's amazing.
Right. I mean, remember, what was it? Five Neat Guys, which was a skit that they used to do on the show with what's it called? SCTV. SCTV used to have a thing that was called Five Neat Guys, and they would sing these songs. They were supposed to be sort of like the Association or something along those lines. And then their big hit was "Let's Have a Party in My Rec Room," and so that's what this is. It's "Let's Have a Party in My Rec Room." And you've got to make it sound like it's fun because that's what they want to hear. I mean, Ashton Kutcher could have gone to the party and left after 15 minutes, but he wants to sound cool, so he goes, oh.
Yeah, it's not cool anymore though.
Now all of a sudden he's going to go, I left after 15 minutes.
I was gone in 15 minutes. Trust me, I didn't see it.
And I took the rice pudding to go.
Yeah. That was another nice part. They had like the trays you would get the restaurants to take stuff home with you. It was great. So Truth Seeker Human, what agency allows Diddy to adopt a young child? I don't think he's actually adopted them.
That wasn't a real adoption.
No, but saying that you're adopting the child is kind of creepy, right?
Yes.
Especially the way we're looking at it now. Ashley Bouchard has a different take on this. Diddy's been low-key telling on himself for years. This would be kind of like a psychological thing, right? Where you're kind of like, you've got all this stuff and you know what you're doing is wrong, and you're just going to kind of throw little seeds out there without actually confessing to something. But for those who know, you know?
Yes, I know. That's actually a very good point.
Yeah, I agree. I always, it's the same thing. Like there's somewhat truth in humor. Like there's a strand of truth in all humor. I think this absolutely could be going on in this case. All right. Now this next one is also going very viral right now. This is Diddy sitting next to Mike Tyson. They're guests on one of the Wayne brothers shows. I don't know which Wayne brother it is.
It truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh, yes, he's literally.
It truly is about the Benjamin.
Yeah. Well, now, when we come back, we're going to talk more with Puffy, and if you want to hang out, more than welcome to stick around, my brother. All right? We'll be right back with more right after this.
This is the part right here. Diddy's hand is down there. Iron Mike Tyson in his prime, right, has to remove his hand because he does not feel comfortable at this moment.
No.
Takes it off, and then Diddy puts it right back down there, at which point, and then the whole time Mike Tyson's just staring at the hand. He now actually moves in his seat because he's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable like the way 50 Cent has been describing his lack of comfort when Puffy said to him, I'm going to take you shopping. I got to take you shopping. And 50 Cent was like, what?
Well, Vinny, you said that to me, and we went. It was really, really good. And so it can be a manly experience.
Yeah. So Gloria Allred had a press conference the other day. She has an accuser, a civil lawsuit, but there was one piece of the press conference which really stood out to me, right? Like the other parts I expected, this was the part I didn't expect. So I wanted you to listen to it.
The lawsuit also alleges that, quote, defendant Combs and another defendant published and/or disseminated the videos without plaintiff's knowledge or consent. On information and belief, defendants have continued to disseminate the video, including by selling it as pornography through the present, end quote. In our complaint, we ask that, quote, defendants should be ordered to account for and destroy all copies of the video that are in their actual or constructive possession, custody, or control, end quote.
This shocked me that he's allegedly selling and disseminating the videos. Like the videos, I always thought he kept personal use, allegations that he's using it to control people, etc. But in this case, and this goes back to the early 2000s, I think it was 2004, but I'm not sure on this case with this accuser. But disseminating it, because apparently the accuser here, like in 2023, found the video or somehow came across the video. She's asked about it in the press conference. She does not give out the details on how she found the video, but the accuser found the video of herself, which she may not even known even existed. So to me, this changes a lot. Like, are these videos actually being disseminated?
And see, that doesn't really make a lot of sense unless it's being done without his knowledge. I can't imagine, first of all.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So someone else.
Right. Someone else.
One of his associates, part of the enterprise, got his hands on it and then shared it or maybe tried to sell it.
Right. Because it would make no sense to me. The man has got a $400 million empire. With a clothing line, recordings, music, producing. I know he had a vodka line. I think he also had a tequila line. And I mean, I know he's like distanced himself on that, but he got bought out with golden parachutes on all those things. I can't imagine he's selling, a $4.99 porno flick to make some extra money on the deal. I can't see him doing that, but I could see that perhaps somebody in his entourage may be doing that or maybe using that. I think that the use he had of those videos was protection, not for promotion.
Protection, not promotion. Crime Critter saying so the video was turned over to the FBI. Some person had it or a copy. So that, this conduct now could be wrapped up, if authorities believe the allegations, it may very well be wrapped up into the RICO count. It may be a growing list of conduct.
But can I just
Melinda wants to know how you know the price, Al. How do you know the price?
Well, see, we live very close to 42nd Street, and the movies there used to cost $0.25, which was a lot of fun. So I know with inflation, it's now $4.99. But I have to point out one thing, though, Vinny, that some of the comments have come down and said that is it that Jonesy is frozen or is he asleep? I think we both can verify that he is not asleep. He is frozen.
He's frozen.
Okay. He would like to have been here. He would not have slept through it, especially with regards to the topics that we were talking about. He would have been very much involved in that.
Oh, he's the king of music. Jonesy's the king of music. I mean, the radio legend himself.
Correct.
The original disco DJ.
That's right. That's correct. So, he's not sleeping, folks. He is frozen.
And it was disco really that helped give birth to the world of hip hop.
Yes.
Let's be honest, right?
That's what they use to sample. So, good times, we are that good times. That's, Sugar Hill Gang. Yep. So that's what they started with. So they would take those records and then they would basically start rapping over those, tunes.
Which in a future episode, we may make Al do live. We'll do it live. We're running out of time here, Al. So are there any final thoughts? So why don't you answer the question, the big question, which is, let me put it over here. How does this end?
Well, I think it's going to be very similar to what happened with R. Kelly. And it's not even the sad part, or the correct answer is he's done. Okay. It's just a question of how long. But from a career standpoint, from a business standpoint, he's finished. So regardless of how long he spends in prison, and he will be spending a long time there, I don't necessarily think he's going to do life. I mean, because if you take a look, I think Suge was voluntary manslaughter, and he got 24 years, I think. So I think he'll probably do anywhere between 20 to 25 years. And in the feds, you don't get really, much time off for good behavior. And his career is over, and his empire is dead. So that's all right.
So as we wrap things up here, Al, where can people find you?
Well, Monday night I will be on Court TV with Vinny. Okay, closing arguments from 8 to 9. Always a good time. I was not on last Monday, as I said. I was at a charity golf tournament.
Do you have a note?
I have a note. Well, Vinny, it was a charity tournament for Holy Name Hospital, and I know that you anytime I could do something to raise money for a good cause, you want me there.
Absolutely.
Like we used to do at the Playboy Mansion, raising money for a good cause. You and I, and there was a Playboy Club, folks, in New Jersey. Vinny remembers it quite well.
It was a casino. It was a casino.
No, it didn't become a casino. They wanted it to become in Vernon Valley. They wanted it to become
a
casino.
I'm talking about the Atlantic City.
Yeah, okay. I'm talking about Vernon Valley. There was the Playboy Club.
Okay, because I went to the casino down Atlantic City when I was 17.
Yes.
I had a car, we drove, and we snuck into the casino. It was amazing.
So,
it was amazing.
But so Monday, and then you can get me on X at Legal Weapon 3. And as I said to you earlier, if you put comments down or questions on YouTube, I do get to them and I do answer them.
All right. And Jonesy, where can people find you?
I am going to be, the best way to get me is on my website. And if you take a look on that, you can find out where I'm on. I'm playing all the time. And I'm sorry that I'm frozen. I'm not asleep. I believe Diddy is going away for quite some time. Thank you.
All right. And you can see me 8 o'clock tonight on Court TV, like every night, closing arguments from 8 to 9. Vinny Politan investigates from 9 to 10, 2 hours of live true crime on television. The only person doing it, folks, Monday through Friday. All right. That'll do it for this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everyone. Frankie Figs and, of course, Gen X in our
love the mod.
Keeping law and order, our mod squad. Say goodbye, Jonesy.
Goodbye, Jonesy.
Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, out cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Allen, Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast.